Good afternoon, eighth grade Bobcats. Mr. Flater here. Welcome back to another great week at the Helena Middle School. On today's Bob lesson, I'm going to pick up where I left off last week. This was a brand new Bob lessons that I kind of put together, these were based on kind of themes of things that have been going on, conversations that I've been having with students. I'll never forget in grad school, one of the main teachers said, "Never be afraid to let kids teach you," and that's something I've always taken to heart. And I've learned so much from talking and working with students at HMS and wanted to reflect a little bit on this thing, self-respect, and what self-respect looks like, but also having a healthy level of selfishness at a time where all you hear is be selfless, help others, be empathetic, which is super, super, super important. I'm kind of talking out of two sides of my mouth here these weeks. I'm not saying stop doing that, but I'm also saying healthy level of selfishness looks like keeping yourself in running your race, swimming your race, your metaphorical race in life, your goals, your visions you have, keeping that at the forefront of your mind and doing things that feed your goals and feed your visions, and refraining from things that'll get you sidetracked. So I hope you guys enjoy this series. I hope you guys have a great week. And we're off and running on part two of two-part series, keys to self-respect and healthy levels of selfishness. The next key is not comparing yourself to other peers, friends who are competing in their own race. So many times I have conversations with students, and clearly they are basing their own value or their own success on that of those people going on around them. And for this one, I really want to refer back to this picture once again. Looking around at other people and comparing yourself to other people that aren't running or swimming or competing, and that's a metaphor, in your own race, is a huge mistake. Looking around and comparing yourself to other people doesn't help your performance, doesn't help your own value. It doesn't help anything. If anything, it just gets in your own head, and unhealthy self-talk can develop based around your own self-worth. We all come from we all come from different skill levels, different ability levels. When I have conversations with students, I may have a conversation with a student that, hey, you're passing all your classes. This is outstanding work you were doing, because I know that that student really is busting their butt and coming to school every day and doing their best. Where I may have a conversation with a different student who has all B's, saying, this isn't your best work. I know this isn't your best work. I know you're not being Bob. I know you're not being the best version of yourself possible. Keys to self-respect is not comparing yourself to other people, rather than being Bob, being your best and being honest with yourself. Am I being my best? Not am I competing with somebody else or compared to somebody else, but are you being the best version of yourself you're capable of? The next key to self-respect is not letting others compromise your self-worth or your own value. And when I say compromise, that maybe wasn't the best word to use, but so many times I see friends that have, or excuse me, friends, I see students who have fallout with their friends. Maybe they've decided to try the romantic thing and that goes south on them, and they end up um, on the side of getting broken up with, and then they start to reflect and they start to internalize their own self-worth based on somebody else's inability to see their worth. So many times I see this happening. Your self-worth does not change based on somebody else's inability to see your worth. I've talked at length in middle school about friendships and how they come and go and they evolve, and refining friendship circles, and how really you're going to end up losing a lot of friends on the path to gaining friends. The dating thing for those of you who have begun to do that, that is a trial and error process. And to really figure out who you want to be with someday, you have to kind of go through that trial and error process sometimes to figure out what you do like and what you don't like in another person. And not only that, but to identify your weaknesses and your strengths in a relationship. All of this is learning. And when these things fall apart and these things don't go well, yes, there's always good things to reflect on in terms of what could I do differently? What are my shortcomings as a person, as a friend, as a dating partner? But you can't let other people compromise your self-worth and start to think down on yourself based on friendships and relationships that fall apart. Have that level of self-respect and have that healthy level. The third key to self-respect is making sure your bucket stays full. When I'm talking about bucket, I'm talking about emotional energy bucket of being recharged. Hopefully, we're doing self-care, but emptying your own bucket on others and not taking care of yourself. This is something that a lot of people that are very empathetic, that care about others, I see sometimes do. And when this happens, you end up spending all of your times and all of your emotional energy helping other people, and then you don't leave yourself anything for yourself. I think it's great to be empathetic. I think it's great to be caring, to be a giving person. But a key to self respect is making sure that your bucket stays a little bit full. If you end up spilling all your bucket and taking care of others, and then there's nothing left for you to take care of yourself with, that's not acting with self respect or a healthy level of selfishness. In other words, a healthy level of selfishness is having some mindfulness and being aware of where your mental and emotional energy is. And sometimes that might mean having to tell a friend, "Hey, I'm sorry you've got this going on, but I'm really trying to take care of myself today. I'm not in a great spot myself." And recognizing when your bucket is getting low. And that's one thing I see some students not doing a great job of. They end up expelling all of their emotional energy on their people around them, and then there's nothing left for them, and then they in turn end. All right, the last one on this series is key to self-respect and healthy levels of selfishness is I see this all the time, people engaging in conflict with authority figures. If you go back to the beginning of this of what I talked about, hopefully self-respect is rooted in having a goal and having a vision for yourself. And in order to obtain that goal, in order to get where you want to get, it takes a game plan of waking up every day, investing in yourself, growing as a young person, etc. So many times I see kids that engage in conflict with teachers or other authority figures when clearly you're not going to win that power struggle. That doesn't mean that sometimes we don't have to have productive conversations about things that we disagree with people. That is a part of life as well. And I encourage everybody to find their strength. If there's something you really believe in, something you feel strongly about, to sit down in the right environment with the right tone, using the right language, and have those discussions. But I see so many kids engaging in conflict with authority figures, maybe getting asked to leave class, and that's just straight up disrespecting yourself, right? Because if you get kicked out of class or you put yourself in a position where you're not in school, or you're not in the classroom, then really you're the one missing out, and you're the one that's missing on that learning, and you're the one that's missing out on that opportunity to grow and to accomplish your goals and your visions. So the last one is the key to self-respect and healthy level of selfishness is disengaging in conflict with authority figures when it's not necessary to have that conflict. All right, this week's Jelly Bean Question of the Week winners: Deegan Helms and Cora Helms, Kai Blyesmith, Hanahan, Vivian, George Pareto, and Paisley Rice. The answer on the clock was A. It moved like 90 degrees, both hands, each rotation. All right, this week's Jelly Bean Question of the Week: what is 3/7 chicken, 2/3 cat, and 2/4, which would also be half, goat? If you think you know your answer, submit your answer to the Bob box. I went through many correct answers just now with no first or last names, or I couldn't read it. Don't be one of those people. Tune in next week, see if you're a winner. All right, Bobcats, let's make it a great week at the Helena Middle School.